This is part 2 of the blood draining agenda. Now we are going to talk about the endless cycle of we'd better order more blood. Where is that blood going? Okay. After general blood tests, specialists may come in and order a lot more blood, wanting an extensive window into anything they can uncover and find. No one's counting. No one's saying, whoa, we're removing a lot of blood from you right now. Blood that your body needs because you're fighting an infection, as indicated by your Hashimoto's thyroiditis. Or your multiple sclerosis, eczema, chronic fatigue, or lupus. Your chronic condition is a chronic viral infection, and we're taking your immune system out, so we'd better be careful and only remove a little at a time so your condition doesn't worsen. Imagine if doctors actually said that. That's impressive if they are. If you have a doctor that's saying that, that's impressive. No one's doing that. Oh, okay. I wasn't going to say all that, Anthony. In part because doctors don't even realize you're fighting a viral infection unless they're starting to learn it from a medical medium information. Some doctors think removing your blood is helping your autoimmune condition because they believe your immune cells are attacking your organs and glands. I forgot that's what they say. This is why many doctors recommend sick people donate blood. Oh, I did not know that. I am underlining that. They think that lowering their immune cells and rebuilding fresh blood will somehow give them a fresh start. More on donating blood later. This is a mistake. This is a mistaken belief. For some reason, medical communities are overlooking an incredibly important point. You have sick patients battling autoimmune disease, and you're telling them to donate blood without realizing their blood could be sick and even infectious, which is not a considerate recommendation for someone receiving the blood. Hemochromatosis is also a condition where doctors commonly recommend donating blood with the intention of lowering your iron levels. Meanwhile, medical science doesn't know the cause of hemochromatosis. In truth, the cause is a chronic viral infection in the bones, and your immune system is a critical part of fighting that viral infection. This is the first time you're going to hear this information about your blood draw and your immune system. That is, unless you learn this information through medical medium teachings or through the grapevine from someone who learned it from medical medium teachings, possibly even prior to the publication of the medical medium book series. I've been talking about this topic for decades because I want people to know as much as possible about how to protect their families, other loved ones, and themselves. Excess blood draw is another great mistake of our medical industry. That's a great sentence right there. I'm just going to underline that. And if you're wondering why I underline, one is to go back and just see like the main points, but also if you check the description, you can get a very good understanding about what I'm reading about. If you're not interested in listening to the whole video or anything, you can definitely check out the description. Or is it, let me just go back. Excess blood draw is another great mistake of our medical industry. Or is it a mistake? Is it on purpose? What is happening with all this excess blood? They're discarding it. Are they? Are they discarding the blood? Let's see. No one would know. They're certainly not using all the blood draw for a given test, that's for sure. Are they using it on the black market? Are they using it for genetic testing that's not for the greater good, but geared to harm us? Is there a secret society of blood drinkers? Is there an extraterrestrial race we're providing blood for to utilize as their food source or for their own experimental testing? Are labs simply throwing the blood away? Only a portion of blood donations go to hospitals. Where do all the other millions of gallons go? This has me thinking for sure, Anthony. I haven't fact-checked this at all, but only a portion of blood donations go to hospitals? That's interesting. Regardless of how leftover blood is discarded, whether it's going down the drain or somewhere else, your white blood cell count take time to rebuild. The majority of your immune system that's in your blood takes time to rebuild and replenish. It can take weeks. For many people struggling with a symptom or condition, depending on its severity, it can take anywhere from 2 to 6 months or even longer. That's really long. It's like your blood's bank account is being drained, and before you can get enough money back into savings, more is taken. That is, before you can get enough immune system back into your blood, more is taken. And then the sicker you get, because a large portion of your immune system is taken from you, the more blood testing is called for to solve the mystery. Chronic illness is still a mystery, no matter how many experts think they have it pegged. It's still a mystery, leading to the refrain, we'd better order more blood. This is the vicious cycle I mentioned earlier. Many people have a hard time bouncing back from the continual cycle of blood draws. Some may never bounce back. When someone gets a bad cut, for example, from a broken glass injury or mishandling of a knife, or they lose a lot of blood, it's traumatic to the body. The shock alone from losing what would equal 10 or 14 vials of blood is traumatic to the body. Even a less aggressive cut on the body that leads to blood loss equals to 7 small vials. That blood loss would be traumatizing for the body. The person would need time to recover, and yet we draw this amount of blood out of people without question. We say, oh, drink some fluids later, eat some food, build your blood back up, acting confident that it will happen in a few hours. We'll see you here in 2 weeks. When you go to a doctor or a new doctor or specialist, they'll want to do it all over again, a whole new round of blood panels, regardless of when the last blood draw was. We lose a substantial part of our immune system every time, unless there's small blood draws for individual tests separated out over multiple doctor visits instead of trying to get it all done in one swoop. With that more measured approach, we can preserve our immune system, at least a larger amount of it. Otherwise, getting blood drawn can be that trigger that weakens your immune system, allowing a pathogen to rise up and make you sicker. Preserving our immune system is more important than we realize. How often do you guys get your blood drawn? I've gotten my blood drawn one time, and it was totally terrible, and I'm never doing it again, especially after learning, this information. Of course, I'm never going to do it again. But I had to get my blood drawn for something. I don't even know. That's how non-important it was. And it hurt. It hurt. And the doctor was like, oh, please, it's nothing. Well, it didn't feel like nothing. It felt like a needle was going into my body. It felt like a foreign invader. There's also hemorrhagic shock to consider. Medical research and science only deems certain levels of blood loss as hemorrhagic shock. The reality is that it can vary from individual to individual. Someone with a weaker constitution because of chronic illness can suffer from a mild case of hemorrhagic shock from a large blood draw. Others can suffer from a mild hemorrhagic shock. I hope I'm saying this right because I just keep saying this word. Or even severe hemorrhagic shock from a routine blood donation. The medical industry is not monitoring the variations and variables of hemorrhagic shock as it relates to blood draw. They have their one mindset about the level of blood loss that leads to hemorrhagic shock. They don't investigate all the subtle differences of each individual and how they handle large blood draws for testing or donations. Hemorrhagic shock should have a scale from mild all the way to extreme, with consideration of all the different amounts of blood that can create all the different levels of hemorrhagic shock. This is one size fits all approach and an unchecked area of medicine. Let's read about how blood draw drains our brain supplies. The immune cells in your blood aren't all that's lost with blood draw. What about the critical electrolytes needed in your blood to keep your central nervous system, your brain, functioning? Do we think those electrolytes just appear out of nowhere? Even if you drink an electrolyte-based drink, it would take hundreds of those drinks to get those electrolytes back where they need to go. When we consume electrolytes, they need time to find their way to where they're needed. Plus, people already have electrolyte deficiencies before a blood draw. We don't just drink electrolytes and find they instantly go to our reserves. It isn't an instant refilling of our bloodstream with electrolytes. It's a building process that takes time, little bit by little bit. It takes months of constantly staying with it to replenish deep electrolytes reserves. Your hamburger or pizza or keto dinner meal won't restore those deep electrolyte reserves. Everything you've read in this book about neurotransmitters becoming deficient and dehydrated applies to blood draw. There are also nutritional deficiencies to consider. The critical nutrients that have found their way into our bloodstream from our foods and are on their way to their destinations. Nutrients such as glucose, our blood sugar, that are needed to keep us in balance and sustain us and fuel our brain, they get removed as well when our blood is taken. We can get nutritional deficiencies faster from blood draws than from poor diet. What? What in the world? I wonder if that's why they're starting to pay people to get blood draws, because people are feeling the effects of getting their blood drawn and they don't want to do it. So now the medical industry is enticing people with free food, pizza, cookies, money. And you know, people are really struggling out there. People want food and money. Okay, so let's backtrack. We can get nutritional deficiencies faster from blood draw than from poor diet. What? Ironically, we're often getting a blood test in the first place to see if we're nutrient deficient. And that very blood draw makes us more nutrient deficient. We won't see the extra deficiencies in those blood draw results because the deficiencies occurred from our loss of that blood that was analyzed. As we leave the doctor's office, our blood lab were far more deficient than when we began with. Our caring doctor, a healthcare professional, unknowingly made us more nutrient deficient. If another blood test were taken immediately after, it would be vastly different. Yet no one does this, seeing that you lose precious nutrients from getting blood drawn, which is just as well because they'd be draining your blood even more as they try to analyze your deficiencies. Often after performing a blood draw and getting back the test results, a doctor will try to fix us with supplements. These attempts to address deficiencies that do show up on blood tests will not fill the blood's nutritional bank faster than the nutrients are being removed via blood draw. The doctor is looking at your calcium, potassium, vitamin B12, zinc, or vitamin D levels, or levels of many other nutrients at the same time they're drawing those nutrients and more out of your blood. Then they add supplementation that may not even be the highest quality, meaning assimilable, absorbable, or bioavailable, to meet the needs they see. Vitamin C is imperative in this day and age in order to stay healthy and heal chronic illness. Vitamin C is an antioxidant that fuels our immune cells. I want to underline that piece because that sounds important. Wow. When blood draw is taken, we lose a large portion of vitamin C reserves. After blood is drawn, any vitamin C reserves in cells, tissues, and organs are quickly released into the bloodstream to help fill in for vitamin C that has been traveling through the bloodstream. After this occurs, not only do we still have a deficit of vitamin C in the bloodstream, but now we also have a deficit in the organs, including the brain. So after a blood draw, your brain lost vitamin C reserves that were keeping your brain from getting an infection while also keeping your brain tissue from oxidizing and aging. Yo, that's crazy. That is totally insane. Insane. He does have a vitamin C shock therapy if you are watching this and you just got a blood draw, you're about to, or you just want to. He has a vitamin C shock therapy. It's pretty awesome. It actually tastes good. I love it. I've done it numerous times. And last section today, we're going to talk about modern day bloodletting. Back in the old days, especially in the 1600s and 1700s, bloodletting was popular in conventional medicine. You get sick and they cut you and drained your blood into a pan. It wouldn't actually help you recover, and conventional medicine eventually learned that. First, it took a while for them to learn the lesson. Back then, if you didn't heal from a first round of bloodletting, you'd get cut again and bleed into a pan again. A few days or weeks later, if a doctor saw you and you weren't better, you'd get cut and bled into a pan again. Eventually, people would get so sick from bloodletting that they died. Whether you like hearing this or not, whether you believe it or not, some entity in the medical industry knows that the modern day practice of drawing excessive amounts of blood is similar to that historically outdated practice of bloodletting. It's a classified industry understanding, one not shared in medical training or medical schools. It's bloodletting continued in a fancy way without telling anyone. Least of all, the well-meaning professionals performing the blood draws, that it's modern day bloodletting. If you disagree, ask yourself this: why do blood tests call for so much blood when only a fraction of that blood is needed? If your answer is that you may use the extra blood later to run more tests, it's important to know that's not how it works. New tests require new blood. If your answer is that they need extra blood to make a serum, that's also not how it works. You don't need to take many milliliters of blood to make a serum. You can make a serum with minimal blood. Much smaller amounts of blood are drawn from infants, yet they can still use that tiny amount of blood to test for the same thyroid panel as an adult who gets so much more blood taken. Someone with neurological Lyme disease will eventually have so many frequent blood draws that it's a miracle they can get better. It's one reason why most don't get better. Neurological Lyme is just one condition. Cancer patients are also pushed into a lot of blood draws when one of the very factors that causes cancer is chronic infection of specific aggressive viral strains creating cancer cells from feeding on specific aggressive toxins. Medical research and science are aware that EBV is linked to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, for example, yet they don't know to show mercy when they draw blood. Taking that blood is removing the immune cells that keep viral infections and viral cancer cells from spreading. Getting constant routine blood draws can be challenging, especially for the cancer patient undergoing a bone marrow transplant, which means they already have a compromised immune system. As we covered, your brain is meant to be safeguarded by your immune system. The majority of your immune system is in your blood, not in your gut, like alternative medicine theorists love to say to sell their gut health products. Yet theories and trends take precedence over common sense. They miss the mark and don't protect the person who's struggling with symptoms. They don't have your back. They don't have your brain either. Gut health specialists in alternative medicine whether they practice a blend of conventional or alternative medicine or simply alternative, draw a lot of blood to try to make conclusions as to the treatment or conditions of someone's gut. They're presuming the gut is causing the health problem without understanding what's truly behind their patient's chronic illness. It's trendy theories like this that have allowed modern-day bloodletting to take hold and to take someone down a darker path with their sickness. Some people ask, isn't it natural to lose a lot of blood? That's what a period is. Blood draw is very different. Yes, when someone is menstruating, they often lose blood through the process of shedding the lining of the uterus. Yet this natural process still reserves and sustains immune cells, unlike blood draws. The immune system has an intelligence. Let me underline that. As blood is being eliminated through the menstruation process, most immune cells exit the blood and stay behind in the reproductive system before the blood leaves the uterus. That is so freaking cool. Our bodies are incredibly amazing. Like, the immune system knows it's time for a period. So it's like, oh, hey, let me get out of the blood real quick so I don't get eliminated so I can heal the body. So that my what? Oh my gosh. So, okay, this is cool. This is part of how 80% of a person's immune system guards their reproductive system during this part of the menstrual cycle. Also, there's not as much blood loss during menstruation as it seems. It isn't just straight blood being eliminated. It's mucus, the lining of the uterus, and additional fluid with that blood. When an individual experiences heavy periods with continual bleeding that seems like it won't stop and verges on hemorrhaging, there tends to be great concern from physicians about the blood loss. They are not aware that during a regular period the immune system works the way it does, nor are they aware that during an intensely heavy period more of the immune system does escape and leave. They simply know that blood loss is worth their concern and could even lead to a blood transfusion. Yet they're not concerned about blood draws or 5 or many more full vials from pregnant women or frequent blood draws from pregnant women or having someone who's chronically sick give blood donations. This is another area of disconnect. Here's another disconnect: blood donation protocols. When someone's giving blood, the system overlooks many critical considerations. I'm going to bracket that because it's true. It's so insane, especially, or I should say also with organ donation. There should be more considerations for who can donate organs because most people eat a really bad diet. They eat the standard American diet, and I wouldn't want most people's organs in my body. I wouldn't want their blood. One very important consideration is whether the blood donor has a history of chronic illness. Now, they may ask the question, yet they only pick and choose certain health conditions as a red flag for not giving blood. They generally don't see autoimmune or hundreds of other symptoms and conditions as a concern. And the majority of blood donors are women who have a history of chronic illness, many of them told to donate blood by their doctors, women who kindly and generously donate their blood in an effort to help humanity. Surprisingly, the healthiest and strongest people rarely donate blood. These blood donation protocols should be reconsidered, with screeners looking more closely at whether a potential blood donor has a history of chronic illness. That's it for today, and on the next video will be the last part of this chapter, and it's going to be all about the practical considerations of blood testing. All right, much love and happy healing.